Welcome to our first episode of Vagamundo Online Podcast. This is your host, Josue Sanchez. And today with me to help me get this started, I have my beautiful wife, Inez Molina, with me. Hi, Inez. How are you today?
I'm fine, Josue. Thank you for asking. How about you introduce yourself?
My name is Josue Sanchez. I was born in El Salvador. I moved to the United States when I was 10 years old, and I grew up in California. I lived in Ohio and went back to California, and now I'm back here in Ohio.
What inspired you to do this podcast?
Well, just like you do and I do, we sit on our living room and watch YouTube videos of people traveling all around the world. And it all started last year when I was searching for El Salvador. And then we found this blog post by the nomadic movement, and when they were there in El Salvador, and how beautiful they put it all on video. It was just so inspiring. And then we both started looking at their videos and started following some other people that they were with, like Trent&Allie and Lucky Lou with Luke and Sarah, and leaveeverythingandwander and the thematneys and all these other great people that are out there on their van living every day. Just like you and I talked about before, is something that we would definitely be interested in doing, but we don't know if we want to do it ever. Just because just living in this small car is just, I don't know, it would just be so weird.
That'd be tough. Living in a small car with 3 cats, 1 dog, that's gonna be too much.
So the reason I wanted to do this podcast is to be able to connect all the people that are just like us, that love to follow all these travelers on YouTube, and even those people, or even the YouTubers that are out there. I would love to have them as a guest on the show and be able to get to know them a little better, and have our listeners be able to get to know them too.
If you have to do any question to any of these people for their YouTube videos, what question you want to ask?
I think the biggest question for me that I always wonder is like their first night. Like, were they scared of sleeping out in the middle of nowhere? And how do they get through that? Because, even when we go camping, we're always like kind of scared of, if there's this crazy person next to us and, what they might do. And that's always in the back of my mind. So that would be definitely the number one question.
I think that's why I don't want to do this life, because I'll be bringing my machete. I'm gonna have my cutter with me. Now we are not doing that type of life. If you have the possibility, if you come with 1 million, what countries you want to visit?
I think we've talked about this before, and I think the number one on both of our lists would be Japan. Just because of the culture there, and of course, with COVID-19 right now, you can't go anywhere, and hopefully, once the vaccine is out there, traveling will be back to normal. But definitely Japan would be the first country on my list, just to be able to go out there and go to their beautiful island and hike many of the trails that they have, try their foods.
Yeah, eat sushi for breakfast, lunch, dinner.
I do like the ramen, from street ramen, and octopus and all the seafood that they have over there in Japan. It's just, it would be so amazing.
What country have you visited?
Growing up, when I was a kid, my mom used to take us to Mexico. Growing up in California, we used to go to Tijuana a lot, and then later on I was able to go to Costa Rica with you, and then I've been to some of the states here in the United States. I've been to Illinois, Minnesota, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, California. I would like to go to the big national parks.
For all these countries that you visit or you live, can you tell me 3 places you think are the best?
So I remember we went to, maybe, when was it, 2 years ago? We went to Costa Rica, and we went to Rio Celeste, which is this waterfall. And the water is just blue, and it just mixes with all the minerals from the mountain. and it's just paradise there. It was amazing, amazing, amazing to look at and to be there, and just awe in nature. You just felt like you were in paradise. So that's been one of my top places that I visited. The other one, we went to Ensenada with my sister and her family last year. We spent a week over there, and the food over there was excellent. If you thought you've had good Mexican food, just wait till you go to Mexico and try the street tacos. It's just, wow, it's out of this world. You'll never have anything like it. The third place would be one of the ruins over there in El Salvador, in Santa Ana, called Tazumal. It was an archaeological site where it was discovered, and I just never been to a ruins like that, and it was just amazing to look at, and being up there and looking at the structures and some of the little museum that they had.
Which one of these three countries you think is the more affordable if you go in vacation?
I think Mexico, it's the most affordable one, especially because $1 goes a long way, and you can get a lot for the money. The second one, I would think it would be El Salvador, just because they use the dollar over there, but still. You could get a pupusa for 25 cents or 50 cents. You can't get that here for that price. Then the third one would probably be Costa Rica, but that one's really, really expensive because, it's so touristic. Everything is as expensive as it is here in the U.S.
What food you like the most for these countries?
Well, from Costa Rica, I like their gallina achotada, which it's... There's wild chickens, and they cook it in achote, which is a spice that's red, and it's a little seed that you crush, and it turns everything red, like kind of like paprika, but it has its own different taste and color. From El Salvador, definitely the pupusas will win, and you make them a lot here at home, but when you're out there and you order them, and you're out on the street, and you can find a pupuseria in every corner, and it's so affordable. And then Mexico, of course, tacos al pastor. They're just cutting it there with el trompo, which is this thing that spins. They cut the meat in the tortillas. They're putting them in the oil there, and you just eat it, and it's so good.
Any tips for people who want to travel?
We like to travel in a budget. So we don't overspend and go crazy, but still look for some of the best places and get the best bargains for your money. One of the tips that one friend of mine, Jason Pandy, gave me was to go on Google, and you can just put around the week that you want to go to, and then Google will give you the best rate for around the days that you want to go to. You don't get to pick which day, but they tell you what best days of the week you have, and you get very cheap tickets like that.
You're talking about flying.
Yeah, that's when you go flying. Yeah. So another tip would be to be open-minded when you're trying new foods and fruits. You're probably used to just eating mac and cheese or whatever you grew up eating. I grew up eating beans and rice and tortillas, so I'm not a big mac and cheese person. But, you go to each country, and they all have their cultural types of foods. And, that's something that I love about traveling with you, is that you always try to try different types of fruits and food. And then, we just experience new things, new flavors.
Always be polite and tip the persons. Because when you tip, they're really grateful, and they treat you really nice. Especially if you're renting a taxi or any transport, just be sure you tip and you're nice to everyone. Don't be the arrogant tourists who think they know everything because you're in their country.
Okay, so another tip is to go to the local spots where the locals go. Don't go to the touristic places because, first of all, they're very expensive, and then it's not the real thing. If you want to experience the real thing, go where the locals go. that's where you're going to find what you're looking for.
The real experience.
The real experience. Yep.
How can people find you?
Well, there's different places where they can go to. I have my old YouTube channel, Ines and Josue Travels. I have another YouTube channel for the podcast. It's called Vagamundos Online. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. And we have a lot more episodes coming up. I have a lot of people that love to travel and some of the people that are traveling out there. I'm planning to have them on the show and they can tell us their experience on how it is to live on a van or a boat or on a sailboat or, on an RV, whatever they live. Even some backpackers that have been traveling the world. All right. Well, thank you, Ines, for coming to the show and helping me with some of the questions that I had. Make sure you subscribe for more episodes. We'll see you next time. And remember,